नमस्कार दोस्तों, मैं अमिताभ and you are watching A Word with a Word. And as promised, every Saturday 4 p.m. we are with you with an issue to have a dialogue, to have a word with a word. And friends, as you're aware that NEP, National Education Policy, the new education policy is talk of the country. Everyone is talking about it. Every platform and social media is buzz with some aspect or the other to develop a clarity. The School Times has taken up this vision to go chapter by chapter about the national education policy, particularly with the reference to the school segment. And we have covered in our earlier episodes. First one, we talked generally about the NEP. Then we have gone on to talk about the early childhood education element. In our third episode, we have talked about foundational literacy and numeracy. In our fourth episode, we have talked about curriculum and pedagogy. And in all these previous episodes, we realize one thing which is of probably greatest significance for the success of NEP, and that is the oxygen of education. Somebody has said somewhere on some of the platform, that is teachers. And chapter 5 of NEP talks about teachers. And today, in our episode, we are going to have a dialogue, we are going to have a word with a word on the teachers in new education policy. What are the provisions? Where are we going to get the teachers from? How are we going to work on their skill sets? Do we have sufficient resource in the country to get into the implementation of new education policy? Because ultimately pedagogy and all the procedures will be in the hands of the teachers who will be executing the vision that the government has planned. And that is going to be our theme for the day. And to help me, like in every episode of A Word with a Word, I have best possible resource with their vast experience to help me out getting the clarity to our viewers, to each one of you. And we are connecting from different parts of the country, the largest democracy of the world, that is India. So friends, the three corners from where we have the resource to help us guide in this journey, to understand, to have this dialogue with the word today. We have from Madhya Pradesh, Palak Tiwari Gaikwad, director of Little Kingdom Group of Institutions. She comes up, she's a parenting blogger, a very avid educationist. She has been some of the, recognized as some of the fastest growing groups in the education sector in last one decade. And recently I even saw her being interviewed by Chetan Bhagat in one of the platforms. So we have Palak Tiwari Gaikwad from Madhya Pradesh, Jabalpur, connecting with us right now, waiting to be called in our virtual studio of the School Times. Friends, from the business capital of the country, Mumbai, Maharashtra, we have Rakhi Chabaria joining us. Rakhi Chabaria ji has a very, very distinct focus area. She has risen in a very short time to a claim to fame, taking up the cause of education and focusing on teachers. And she has created a community of teachers, which is a buzz and very popular by the name Teacher Help Teacher, with a vision that the teachers' skill set, they should be sharing between the teachers and the educators. And she's created a very strong community of teachers on the social media platform by the name Teacher Help Teacher. More than 10,000 teachers from across the country are connected on her platform. And she's very deeply involved into teacher development through her platform and connecting people and issues related to teachers. So we have Rakhi Chabaria connecting to us from Mumbai in Maharashtra. And, the spiritual capital, if I may call it, from the, one of the largest states of India, Uttar Pradesh, that is, and we have Dr. Anita Pauline Day, Director Principal of W.A. Smith Memorial School, a school which has gone through various phases of development and is having a very, very strong impact in the social and the educational presence. She's been there for more than 3 decades, taking up the cause of education. And besides her commitment and contribution to education, she has also done her PhD on interreligious peace and education, how to go about it, which is something so very relevant in today's context. So that is our resource, which is going to help us. But before I invite our resource to start our dialogue for the day today, let me just play a small presentation, a video prepared by the School Times team, a brief summary of this chapter 5 on teachers in the National Education Policy, and then we will take up these issues with our experts for the day. Dr. Anita Pauline Day, Palak Tiwari Gaikwad, Raki Chaveria ji, welcome to A Word with a Word. Thank you so much for taking your time out and be with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And now, before we take up our discussion, as you all are aware that we have assembled here to talk about the Chapter 5 of National Education, this new educational policy, which focuses on teachers. So the way we will go about in the format is, first I would request each one of you to take up your area of emphasis, 2 to 5 minutes to each one of us, and then we will take the discussion on so that we get a perspective, and then we'll take up the issues and the areas of concerns and how we go about the challenges at the institution. I hope that will be comfortable with each one of you.
Absolutely. Sure.
All right. And interestingly, it's a very amusing day that we are all from four corners of the country. Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and I am from West Bengal, connecting with you right now. So let's take the discussion further. Audience viewers, let us try and develop an insight into new education policy with a focus on teachers. And Palakji, may I please request you to share your emphasis and the points that you would like to emphasize on chapter 5, that is teachers.
Thank you, Amitabhji. So without wasting time, I think I would like to start with a quote of Alvin Toffler. He very well mentioned that the illiterates of 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but rather those who cannot relearn, learn, and unlearn. So when we talk about teachers and when we talk about NEP, another one quote comes to my mind, which says, we are currently preparing students for the jobs and the technologies that don't even exist yet, in order to solve problems that we don't even know are problems. So with that, I have been watching the school times pushing hard on NEP and trying to know more about it. So I'm going to talk about recruitment and deployment, and I'm going to put it as it is in front of the audience because it's very important for all of us to know what is actually in these chapters. So chapter 5 talks about teachers. They accept that it's a noble profession, and they also say that there are not much of people who want their kids to become teachers. And I was just seeing the video in which you said that teachers in our historic in our communities, teachers are regarded as God. So, and now we don't have people who want to become teachers. And I think this is one reason that government has accepted that we need a major change. And so outstanding students must enter teaching professions, and that's how scholarships should be, instituted. That's what, chapter 5, starting of chapter 5 talks about. Yeah, it does talk about 4-year integrated program for B.Ed. Though we do not have the changes yet, what changes would be done in the curriculum. And it's a vast area of discussion. But as I said, we are preparing students for the problems that we actually don't know right now. So as much time we take, I think we're going to make it much better to write the new era of education. There's a special mention about a merit for rural areas, including, because what happens, children who are doing very well in the rural areas, they're not able to come up. So government has tried to give them some privilege that, they can be hired in their own areas and they can be role models, so that the schools have qualified teachers who can speak local language. As we all know, and we all have been talking, that now NEP talks about being multilingual and promote local languages also. I think this can serve as a solution for people who do not understand Hindi and English. Also, it will not only promote other languages, but our dialects and other languages that can be preserved will also be one very important factor. This chapter has also been talking about key incentives to people who will be serving in the rural areas. Maybe a house or living like that. Transfers. This is one major thing that comes to me, with happiness, that government says there will be not much of transfers that would happen now in the government for the government schools, And even if it happens, it will happen for like very transparent, because I think a lot of politics is involved, even for teachers transfers. So I think that's what gives me happiness, that yes, now we look forward that teachers will be respected, and because a child and a teacher has some kind of emotional bond, and that bond helps the child to grow. So I think that can really serve as a purpose when we talk about a growth of a child. A very, very important factor, that teachers' eligibility test will be strengthened. I think the content and the pedagogy both will be given importance. uh, Motivation will be a very big factor, because one teacher must be a self motivator and should be able to motivate others in order to get results from our kids, also from colleagues. Also, the teachers only get positions and they grow as a headmistress and other administrative. So I think if one gets empowered from the beginning, motivation plays a very, very important role, not only as an educator, also as a colleague, also as an administrator. uh, it gives me a lot of happiness when I read this entire chapter, and it says that importance will be given to all the stakeholders, because as parent, as educator, as management of the school, our goal is one, that our child should blossom. Our child is the curriculum. See, until this child is the curriculum for all of us, we will not be able to accept the uniqueness. And accepting that each child is unique, I think they have tried to emphasize a
Peggy,
lot that
in my
goal
role
is
as a
one that.
timekeeper, 1 minute more.
All right, great. So I think these are the things that I think Raki ma'am will be speaking about more of technological aspect that will serve for the benefit of the for the teachers and the trainings. So this is what it talks about, and also demonstrations will be given a lot of importance.
Absolutely. And friends,
While
very important aspect, the recruitments are going to be the key. The deployment of teachers are going to be a very, very essential component, because when we talk about new curriculum, new pedagogy, new approach, new technique or technology, do we have enough teachers equipped with that? And if we have enough, fine. If we don't, how are we going to, where are we going to get those equipped teachers? And if we need to prepare, are we ready to do that? There are certain administrative aspects that Palakji has emphasized, that in the government mechanism of transferring the teachers from one place to the other, there are policy recommendations. But then in the private sector, that particular aspect is not so very applicable. But then the private sector faces a challenge of a teacher movement from one school to the other because of the salary factors. Somebody gets a few thousand increment in the other institution, the movement is there. So how we are going to control those movements, a lot of issues of these kind need to be talked about. And I'm sure the current teachers are also very, very anxious. Is my qualification for recruitment going to be same, or what is going to be my fate with the 4-year integrated B.Ed, and somebody who's already has got 1 year or 2 year? Will there be a redundancy to that? A lot of these questions in the minds of the teachers and people, which we need to answer and understand. So thank you so much, Palakji, for emphasizing the importance of recruitment and deployment in the context of new education policy. And so from Madhya Pradesh, let me take you to Maharashtra, and Rakiji, your context, your emphasis area.
Yes, thank you, Amitabh ji, for this wonderful curation of NEP chapter by chapter. I think this is very much needed for every stakeholder in education. And when it comes to teachers, it gives me a lot of happiness, because the whole idea is to enhance not only education, of course, through the new education policy, but also the quality of educators, because they are the backbones. And for any change to happen, we need to keep the task force happy, and a happier task force will definitely lead to a happier nation. So I'm very, very glad that there have been certain aspects of teacher quality education, teacher quality professional development that have been included. So all this while, even though schools have been into building capacities of their own teachers, and teachers have also been opting for professional development courses through individuals and through other yeah, skill-based universities. But I think what the government is trying to do is trying to streamline that. Minimum, they have specified a minimum in terms of professional development. They have specified a minimum number of 50 hours that the teacher needs to dedicate. Now, when we say that you need to dedicate 50 hours towards professional development, it doesn't mean that you're going to be forced to be attending certain sessions which are not meant for you, or which are not subject specific, or probably because they are being organized, you have been asked to attend those. It is going to be absolutely decided by the teacher. A choice is going to be provided. So the teacher has the autonomy to choose that, okay, I will be interested in attending session A, or maybe a session on leadership, as compared to maybe a session on something else. So I think this whole thing of making the teachers responsible and giving them autonomy is definitely also going to attract new professionals in our field, because as Palakji pointed out, that not many would be keen to become teachers, to take up the profession of a teacher. So even if your child comes up and says that mujhe teacher banna hai, you will be like, "Arey, bhukha mar jayega." So it's like it's not really something which is looked upon as a profession. But I think the government has tried to bring about that balance by keeping intact the respect and also the status that the the teaching profession requires. That needs to be restored, and that is what I think the government is trying to bring about a change, which I feel is much needed. The other thing that the policy speaks about is the teachers would also be given the autonomy to decide the pedagogy that they can implement in the classroom for their students, which works well for them. So here we are looking at a very dynamic system that is going to be incorporated in schools, whereas from a strict regiment of being asked to do being asked to follow certain things. Here, the teacher now has the autonomy to choose, to decide, and of course, then there is accountability based on that, because you need to report and you need to let the management or your principal or your supervisor know that this has worked for my classroom, and also the need for online platforms where the teachers can openly share their knowledge. So we have we have our own platform which we started in 2017, where we invited educators to share their resources, ideas, anything that they have made, rather than reinventing the wheel. If there is something that you can share with another educator sitting across the country, then that is going to be of a purpose. And I think the government is also looking at it, and they have already established their portal, the Diksha portal that has been established by the government, and CBSE has its own in place where teachers are being regularly trained online. So we're seeing very positive developments with regards to the new education policy. And also, we all know that the B.Ed course, which is currently a 2-year course, is going to be converted into a 4-year integrated course. Now, when we say 4-year integrated course, it's a 12 plus 4, where just like any student is given a choice to get into a stream of maybe commerce or management, they will be given a choice to get into a stream of teaching profession. So I think that is also going to give an impetus to our profession and the status that it deserves. However, this is not valid for those teachers who have already got their B.Ed or their M.Ed in place. So they need not worry that will they have to do something. But yes, for them, the 50 hours of continuous professional development is something that they will need to adhere to on a timely basis, because these 50 hours will be accountable for the recruitment and also for the increment in salary. So there's going to be a proper procedure being established as to how do we take care of the career growth of the teacher. So motivation, as Palakji rightly pointed out, that is very, very important. So keeping that in mind, how is it that the teacher needs to be rewarded? Is it based on the number of years that she has been serving? Is it based on the experience? But now it is also going to be based on his or her interest in the continuous professional development sessions taken up by the teacher. And by 2030, the government is going to be moving teacher education to multidisciplinary universities, where the universities, which are already providing various courses, will also be offering professional development courses, B.Ed courses. And those who have already done their B.Ed, they will also be offered short-term courses by universities to probably specialize in areas like special education, or probably take up leadership roles. So maybe they want to specialize in leadership or curriculum development. So these are going to be the short-term courses which are going to be made available for upskilling of the teacher force. And I think these incentives are definitely going to attract a good number of professionals in the teaching field. And I think that is much needed right now, because initially what we were told was that ye karna hai, क्यों करना है, we don't know. Teacher quality improve करना है, but that was very vague. We didn't have any guidelines that teacher quality improve करना है तो क्या करना है. Even the teacher would question themselves that, okay, I need to improve, but then after that, what? What is the incentive, what is the motivation for me to do that? And
Rakesh, in my capacity as a timekeeper and the moderator, one more minute.
Yes. So now that the autonomy comes in and accountability comes in, so as our Prime Minister has said that this education policy is actually going to change the face of India. It's going to make education India the education hub, and that's what is meant to, because it has come after a long period of time. We all know that, and the kind of changes, it's very ambitious, and we are in fact closely monitoring as to what are going to be the next steps in terms of implementing the policy, because the government has also specified a timeline of 5 years for the policy to be implemented. Yeah.
Absolutely, and in these 5 years, lots to be achieved to prepare the whole
Lots.
structure to adapt to the mammoth
Absolutely.
vision that the new education policy has to transform education, as you and Palakji has pointed out. You have emphasized on some very very significant aspect. You've talked about 50 hours of compulsory professional development hours for teachers. You've talked about this integrated. For 4 years B.Ed, you talked about autonomy and accountability. There is a question that you talked about multidisciplinary courses and the universities coming up in times to come. Still, there's a question that is there in every anxious mind with reference to new education policy, and that is that when we talk about integrated approach to learning, which is an emphasis in the new education policy, I, the teacher community which we have, are they really ready for that? The segment that we are too entwined into our own specific area of specialization than being more, having that integrated approach. And I think that is going to be one of the major shift, and a lot of preparation is going to come. And then comes the issue of autonomy. Are we really prepared? Do we have those attitudes? Because the issue, policy on papers is good. The idea and the concept is great. But is our society, is our community of teachers that we have ready with that attitude to adapt, to be autonomous and yet be accountable? And that is again something that that brings in the issue of a lot of teacher appraisal and teacher credits, and working on those aspects. I think that becomes very very significant and important in the whole context. We'll answer all these questions, but then let us build a complete perspective, and let us hear Dr. Anita Pauline Day, principal of W.S. Smith Memorial School, Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. Anita ji, your
Yes,
perspective on new education policy with focus on teachers and teacher development.
thank you so much, Mr. Amitabh Mohan, and it is a pleasure to be here sharing the platform with Rakhi and with Palak. And it is a subject after my heart because I feel that everyone who is associated with education, and I think that means everyone, even parents and everyone, all the stakeholders, should be knowing about the national education policy, because there are a lot of WhatsApp also which are very misleading, and a whole lot of takes on what is happening and not happening, but getting down to the nitty gritty of what has been provisioned for. I want to thank you that you have created a platform and you've covered it up so systematically, very systematically, and
Thank you
I
so
think it's excellent, and you and your team need to be congratulated on this effort. So
Thank you
moving
so
on, I would like to just say that we must remember as educators that classroom is four walls with tomorrow inside, and now there are no walls, it's all a virtual reality. So we can say that the entire world, is our classroom. Vasudev Kutumbakam. That means the whole family is there, the entire universe. And I think this is reflected more in Indian philosophy more than in any other philosophy in the world. So, since a lot of points have been already covered, aspects by Rakhi and by Palak, I would like to come to something which is very close to my heart, and that is what has been the provision made by the National Education Policy? What have they done, or how have they looked at special educators? Now, you know very well that there are children who are there in every school, in every town, in every village, who always have special needs, and there are two categories. One is the Divyang who are having a little bit of like inability for something, but they have got other plus points. On the other hand, I would not like to neglect those who are specially talented and who are very good at whatever they are doing, like very good in maths or in innovative ideas, out of the box thinking. So, as educators for the last so many years, we have been questioning what is the government doing, and this national education policy that we have has taken cognizance. You see, the thing is that right up to now, we've been having the B.Ed, we've already gone through the technicalities. But what they have done, the plus point is that along with your four-year B.Ed program, you are allowed to also take an extra, year or 2 years in the subject, besides which you are teaching, also special training for special needs of children. And I think that is a very nice way of putting it, because these children, every, like the people who are disabled because of their eyesight, have a different set of needs. Those who can't hear, they have a different set of needs. So how do you equip a single teacher to take care of all of them? So here the government has allowed the teachers, to choose that which particular special ability they would like to cater to. And I think this is an excellent, step which they have taken, because there's been a big gap. Another gap which has been there has been that the subject knowledge. Now, every child with a special disability cannot learn all the subjects. So government has said that besides in your graduation, whatever subjects you have to also identify that which are the subjects which you are able to teach. Like there may be a set of children who would not be able to do science or science experiments. So you can't have a teacher who has done her BSc and who wants to teach science to go into a class with children with special disabilities and who is not being able to understand. So that the government is again taking care of this, and they have given a lot of incentive also. Another thing is there is that, as already mentioned, that the people who are appearing for their B.Ed or going in for their teachers training or as teaching as a career, they have a lot of options. Now, if they do not wish to remain in the urban area, they find it easier because they're living in the rural areas. Now they can go and work there. They also get HRA extra as the incentive is there. And I believe that there are special benefits which are there on the table, which have not been really very specifically given, but are on the tables for discussion. And I think by 2022, they will be more concrete and clear. The special incentives will be given to teachers who will do these courses for children with special needs. There is a big lacuna also in the choice of subjects. So the teachers, I think, who will be getting trained will also be having this facility in rather training, as Raki ma'am said, that they'll already be having all this training, so that it is going to get them all ready, to deal with helping the children choose what further, how to use the skills, the set of skills that they have learned later on. And then vocational training, etc., has already been added. So I think that is a very big plus point which is there in the national education policy. One thing which I would like to bring to the notice of everyone is that there is an inclusion of Article 51A. And I would like to just mention here that the Article 51A has been given special emphasis. It always has been, but this time, Article 51A of the Indian Constitution. They have emphasized, the government has emphasized that all the people who are going in for teachers training should be aware of this article. This has got about 11 major points which you can Google and you can look up. But the crux of the whole thing is that the shift is towards nationalism, the respect for the flag, the respect for the anthem, the respect for the history of our freedom fighters, the respect, and then not only that, to always be ready to come forward to defend your country or to say to serve it nationally. This is another aspect again which is there, that holistic education has to take place, and all the environmental concerns which are there have to be amalgamated into the course content. So I think that when we have studied the ongoing 4 semesters of the B.Ed curriculum, we find that there is a big gap between the national education curriculum and what it demands and the national education policy. But thankfully, there is a light, and definitely it seems that the people who have been framing this national education policy, who have been part of it, authors of it, have made an effort to bridge that gap. So there is a lot of there has been a lot of gap and a lot of grumblings and cribbings, but the positive side of it is that they are making an effort. And it's all very well, as you said, to write down the policies on papers and print it, etc. But then who's going to carry it out? It's going to be the
Absolutely.
teachers. Who's going to convert the ideas into reality? It's going to be the teachers. So this episode, I feel, is very important because we feel that the people who are there, who are listening to this program today, should understand the importance of the teachers and why the government is taking and giving so much of attention to revamping the whole system of education for teachers. See, they have not just, like some people think that 4 years, "Arey, how are you going to do 4 years?" It's not that. They are already giving you the facility that if you've already done your graduation in your own subject, you have the choice of doing a 2 year or a 1 year, diploma just to enhance. And then look at all the, training programs. Every board, CBSE, ICSE, Madarsa, West Bengal board which was there, and even the state boards, they are all sitting up and they are, paying attention to this. And I think we are living in a time. I mean, I would say that during this
My
pandemic,
role is time for 1 minute more.
yes, I will just conclude. So they have also taken cognizance of the fact that a lot of emphasis has been given on the practical and physical, the feasible things which are there. And I think that everything is going quite smoothly. And the only thing is that whatever has been thought of, so thoughtfully, should be implemented. And that's in all our hands. We should do it by thought, word, and deed. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for such an insightful inputs, and you have emphasized, and I really love the lines that you with which you started off, that 4 walls with the future inside, and now there are no walls, and that I think that one statement defines the shift in the education policy as well, and our future is dependent on the way this whole policy is going to get implemented. And we, all the three of you, and we all are in agreement that policy inputs are good, but our concerns are that how it is going to get implemented. And you have beautifully emphasized the emphasis on the Article 51A, and this current new education policy is the emphasis it is putting on nationalism, and even the teacher education is going to shift in that direction more and more. And you have a point. You refer to the gaps in the curriculum and the needs that we had, and we would like to have more discussion on understanding those gaps as we take our discussion forward, so that we can put forward that challenge for everyone's perspective. Friends, and I would also like to tell you that we have a lot of viewers have joined us in the live mode, and they're watching us right now. So thank you everyone for joining us, and I hope you are finding the inputs relevant and educative. Friends who are watching us right now, or who will be watching us in the recorded mode, you are watching a word with a word, and right now we are having a dialogue on the chapter 5 of the new education policy, that is teachers, because that is going to be the crux, that how successful the whole policy is going to be. As all our panelists emphasize, ultimately it is the teachers who are going to ensure that this policy sees the light of the day. And you are listening to Rakhi Chabaria, founder, teacher, health teacher from Mumbai in Maharashtra. You are listening to Palak Tiwari Gaikwad, director of Little Kingdom Chain of Schools, Jabalpur in Madhya Pradesh, and you are listening to Dr. Anita Pauline Day, director principal of W.H. Smith Memorial School in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. And I'm your friendly psychologist, Amitabh Mohan. And you are watching A Word with a Word. Allow me to encourage, and that I want to take permission of all our panelists. Will you be all right if we encourage our viewers? Now they've got a perspective on the policy. If anyone has any particular inquiry to make, they can feel free to put it in the chat box. Will that be comfortable with all of you? All right, thank you so much. So friends, feel free to put in your questions and queries. You've got a perspective on the chapter as we take the dialogue forward. Feel free to put in your queries and inquiries that you would like to put forward. And I would like at this point of time to develop greater insight, put a query to our panelists to take their view on that. One of the biggest challenge and the concern is, do we have the manpower to take up this level of task? And that is revolving around the recruitment. That then comes when we go for recruitment, the other concern is the new education policy will demand new skill sets. And do we have enough qualified teachers to take up that responsibility? So there is one is, are we going to train them first and then implement the policy? Or are we going to implement it and then gradually train them in the process, and how it is going to come up? And I am throwing the challenge, as Palakji has thrown emphasis on the recruitment aspect. I'm taking this question to her, and then I'll, if my other panelists want to have an opinion on that, we'll take them to them as well. Palakji. I think Palakji's signal is, screen is a little frozen, the technical glitch. I think even in the implementation of the policy, we are going to get these glitches because we are dependent on a lot of modern technology. Are we prepared is a question again. And so can I take this question to Rakhi ji while Palakji joins us in the course of time?
Yes, so if I have correctly understood your question, it talks about the manpower. Are we geared up enough to be able to take that challenge? And do we have the skill force ready, the skilled task force ready to be able to take up this challenge? So it's quite
I've just raised a question to you, which Rakhi ji is taken up because of the technical glitch. So we'll carry on with Rakhi ji, and you can add your bit to that. The query was, Are we prepared with the manpower? Do we have to train them first and then implement it, or we are going to implement the policy? And how equipped are we with the manpower? Rakhi ji.
Yeah. So as the government has stated in the policy that it's going to be 5 years of implementation, and at the same time, the by 2030 is what we are expecting the government to be able to list down the the skill-based courses that are going to be offered by the university. So it's definitely a good enough time to be able to prepare that kind of task force which will be able to take up the new changes in the policy and welcome the new changes in the policy. And I think the way to look at this policy is that we need to be ready to towards the changes that are going to come in, and considering that everything that has happened, any new change is always opposed, and anything new that we are asked to do, we are always in that denial state that no, why should I do it? I was happy doing it the way I was doing it. I'm happy running the school the way I'm running it. But uh, the fact that the policy has been let out open to everyone is to also change the mindset. So first we need
Right.
to change the mindset, work towards the mindset of educators and the teachers who are going to be implementing it. And then of course the task force will be ready to be welcome the new changes from 2030 onwards. Yeah.
How much time do we have to prepare the teachers and the manpower? Is it 2022 or is it 2025 or is it the next academic session itself?
So it is a little it is not really very clear, because when I was reading the policy, it said that a common guideline will be set up for professional standard of teachers by 2022. So it is only by 2022 that we will be able to understand what is it that is expected out of our educators.
So the detailing is going to get completed that what
Yes,
specifically is
yes.
required by 2022. That's what is
2022.
expected.
Yes, yes. And in
Okay.
the next 5 years, we're going to be seeing the changes in the way the assessments are being conducted. Yeah.
Right. So we can easily say education by 2025. That is the phase that we have.
Yes, but the work has already begun, because by 2021 we're going to be implementing the changes. The new curriculum is going to be implemented. So
Right.
that is what the policy states. So we as far as the teacher development is concerned, that states that the standard for teachers will be available only by 2022. Yeah.
Right. Palak and any additional inputs on the manpower perspective to what Rakiji said?
I I second what Raki says. I would also like to add a philosophical aspect to this. So now we are seeing a bigger picture. Earlier we were only concentrating on certain jobs that we were to make. But now, as a nation builder, being an educator, we need to look forward for creating thinkers, doers, dreamers, path breakers, trailblazers. These are the people we are looking forward for to create new India. And I think empowering the educators, see, 2022 is going to give the actual lines what a teacher needs to do. But lot of changes are there which are acceptable and which can be done from now. I am sure progressive schools have already started working on it, and it feels very proud when I say Little Kingdom has been following almost of the NEP points, past 6 7 years, and I can see a tremendous change in my educators and in my learners, because I've invested a lot on educating and empowering my educators. I can see a very relevant change among my students. So now, if you talk about flipped classes, if you talk about, so things like that are very common. It's very common.
Absolutely.
We have peer learners. We have brought the concept of peer teachers, rather I should say, wherein the teacher and learners, few learners have learned it together, the concept, and then the peer learners take those classes for their fellow mates, and that's how the teacher becomes mentor. So that's
Absolutely.
the beauty of new education. And
And
we have
to
also tried to involve.
Right, and what you are saying is what
Parents.
one of our viewer has also emphasized, that hope we have skilled educators ready to serve the future generation, navigating them to success. Tumakor has endorsed and echoed the same view. This brings me to an issue, and Anita ji, I'm taking up this question, and I'm
Yeah.
lately been very motivated to by one of the news channels, which is in a short time grown to a highest TRP, and that is. So I would like to ask this my question to you in that style. There are different kinds of schools. There are schools which are government schools. There are schools which are government aided schools. There are schools which are private schools. Can we have a single recipe and a formula for all, because they are all in different categories? And then when we talk about private schools, we have the schools which you people are connected to, which are relatively better off schools. Then we have schools in a remote rural area which are also private initiative, unaided, government has no funding to them. India wants to do, no, भारत जानना चाहता है क्या ये न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी इस बारे में भी कुछ कहती है, अनीता जी?
Nation wants to know.
बिल्कुल,
Nation
बिल्कुल,
wants to know.
बिल्कुल. हाँ. Yes, and I would like to say one thing, that you see, we always say overpopulation is a minus point, and I say overpopulation is a plus point. We have got so much manpower to do everything. As a matter of fact, if we want, we can, to every 10 children, you can have one mentor and doing teaching. But of course, that's just, concentration. What I would like to say is that what are we Indians known for all over the world? For our ingenuity, our indigenous, facility. You put an Indian anywhere and they manage with whatever they've got. And I
Right,
think that this is the key to survival in our country. Our country is a mosaic of different types of cultures and beliefs and ways of life. And you just can't get rid of everything and say, oh, let's have one recipe, as you said, and that is
right,
going to suit everybody. Everyone's not going to like it. They say now that at every 20 kilometers, the language changes and the food changes and the water changes. That holds very true. We have a very diverse and pluralistic society and culture. Now, how are we going to? The challenge in front of the government has always been how to bring us all together. And I think that this effort that they have made has been good. But what we need to do is we need to, inside in the training programs, we need to make each and every individual sit down and list what are the indigenous facilities, what are the facilities available. Supposing there is no electricity in that particular area and the teacher has to
right,
teach. So help the children to make hand fans out of whatever material that is required. And then when you
right,
teach them to fan themselves, you're teaching them so many things in physics. And this even a 4-year-old can do. I mean, this is only an example. But what I'm saying is that our plus point is the number of people we have, the manpower we have. Number two, the plus point is that we have got so many innovative ideas, gharelu nuskha and so many things. Why can't we just, put it all together and concretize it? And I think that this time when we are talking on this platform, I think that is what we need to encourage, that we must make each and every teacher feel. Now, one thing which I would like to draw everyone's attention to is that the government has said it is not only that the B.Ed is going to happen only after that you're going to implement. No, they
right,
said that there's going to be an in-house your pre-B.Ed program, pre-training program, in training internship program, as well as post. So whether you are deciding to become a teacher, you are already a teacher, or you feel that you're so many years of experience, 20 years, 25 years, and nobody can teach you anything, still you want to enhance your skills, so you can go for it. And I think this is the biggest achievement through this national education policy, but it needs to be implemented, I think.
absolutely. And I that's very very important. We've already started getting some interesting perspectives and inquiry from our audience and viewers. You want to say
And
add
I think,
something, Rakiji? Yes.
yeah, yeah, and I think what we also missed out on, the most important aspect is how much is the country willing to invest in the education. So is it really going to be 6% of the GDP as promised? So if it is going to be that, then we are sure going to be ready for the new education policy. So
Absolutely.
any change,
And,
especially
and, and
if
also to add to what you are raising, is the 6% going to be for the government schools? Or is it going to be for shared with the private schools? And if it is only going to be for the government
government
schools,
schools,
what is going to be the fate of the private schools? And the
yes.
50% equity or the schools are belonging to the private sector. And
Trust.
so almost 60% of these schools would be on the fringe, who are surviving totally on the fees collection. And so are they really going to, are they equipped to fund the transition?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think the school owners, the private school owners, are definitely going to be facing some challenging times ahead. So maybe
Yes.
if private players need to join hands and support private schools, so maybe private investment should be allowed in education, so as to provide a quality education. Yeah,
I would
investment. I
like to
think
make a
investment.
recommendation if anyone can take it to the government from this platform, maybe for a few years, channelize all the CSR funding, all the schools, be it private or the government, to get this policy
That would be
implemented.
very good.
I think that would be
Successful.
the way out, because just 6% allocating it to the government school will not be enough, because there are so many private initiatives which are may not be equipped with the budgetary provisions to cater to the transition and the financial
It
requirements
does.
for the
It,
state.
it, it does
You
put the
know,
private school owners in a tight spot. Yeah.
absolutely. This actually brings me to what we are right now raising is a statement that I would like to throw it to all three of you. Feel free to take up and respond to it. Is a statement by one of our viewers, Manoj Dwivedi, and says that. Manojji says that in government school, previous education policy is yet to be implemented fully, and we are talking about the new education policy. So, what is your take on this particular call? Any one of you? It's open to all three of you.
Well, I agree with him that there is still a big lacuna, as we've already pointed out, and things are moving fast. But then, on one side, when we say that, on the other side, we must appreciate the people who have
Right?
framed this policy have thought ahead. They've thrown the ball ahead. They have thought ahead that look, we need to not, like in a particular way that okay, if this is the track, then we have to only move along that track. They have said, now can we skip this stage and go on to the next and further stage? After all, who knew that this pandemic was going to hit India and that we had to rethink all our ways of educating our children? So we have to move forward instead of carrying the burden of what's not already been done. But
We
yes,
need to be
the things which have
optimistic
not
and
been done,
positive. Yeah.
yes,
And
that's what we
you
need
know
to do.
the all the rational and the logic policy is talking about positive changes and the changes which are needed. Yes, we are the human factor of implementation. Probably, I would also like to add to what Anita ji just now said, that I think pandemic has also given us one advantage this year, this time when the new education policy was announced. It is never before any policy has been talked about and discussed. Almost everyone knows something about the new education policy. How many people can say the same about the previous one? The awareness about the policy is strong, thanks to the lockdown, thanks to the social media activism that has taken place, and that awareness of the policy itself is much more than what it was earlier. And I think that single factor is going to contribute to better implementation of the policy this time. Manojji, that is what the optimism that we all carry sitting here on this platform. And there's another very interesting question that has been put up by Indrani Gua. And Indrani ji says that RTE was such a robust policy, but where is that included in the new education policy? Is right to education still there? Yes, Palak ji.
Yeah, I think yes, RT remains the same, and now I think they're going to talk more, about it from early childhood, because now they're focusing a lot on early childhood. So RT, is going to start from the first year of that school, which
Right.
earlier it used to be grade one. It may or may not be preschool, but it had to be grade one at least. But now it is going to be preschool. So
Absolutely.
RT
Yeah,
is
it's
going to
very
be
much
the
there.
same.
So, Indrani ji, what our interpretation, our panel's interpretation, and our understanding is RTE, even if it is not mentioned, it is also not mentioned that is abolished. So, RTE continues to be there. And in the new framework, in the earlier framework, it was class one upwards. And in the new framework, as the early childhood education is going to be part of mainstream school process and the administration, so RT will be applicable from that time. That is, this 5+3 process. So it is from the point where this 5 begins is the point from where RTE begins. So it actually covers the your pre-nursery, nursery, KG classes also into the RTE. That's what our understanding of the same is. There is another very interesting input which has been uh, put up by Rajan Pandey. In government schools, Diksha app is there to give training to the teachers regularly. And I'm expanding this question. Uh, does online training going to be the solution? Diksha app and others to equip people with the requirements of tomorrow. Rakhi ji.
Yes, Amitabh ji, I think the online education, the online training is something which is going to be very important to uh, help the government reach out to more and more educators and help them scale up, because physical training in pandemic times, we all know that it's going to be difficult even in the new normal age for people to travel, and also it's going to be cost effective for everyone to be able to bring the
Right.
best of speakers on board and help educators get trained through local, state, national, and international level. So that's what the policy states, that the teachers will be given the opportunity to attend sessions and workshops which are right from local to international level. So I think with the online space, this will definitely become possible, and this will definitely go a long way. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Anita ji, there's another very interesting question by one of our viewers. The name is written as Sur, and is watching us on our YouTube platform and is putting up a query, which I think is a very, very important query, and I'm taking it to all of you. Diploma in ECCE will become teacher after NEP implementation. Now, I think there is a lot of anxiety and confusion about will the existing qualifications be take accepted in times to come? What will be the fate of these preschools teachers? There are so many formats, Montessori trained and others. Will they be taken as the formal qualification? Will that be accepted as an eligibility to teach in the early childhood years? Because that is the new addition in our process. So, what is your take on that?
I feel that definitely they are not going to lose their jobs, or they are not going to be sidelined, because NEP has taken care, and they have said that whether you are deciding to become a teacher, you're already a teacher, or you think that you've learned everything, you're in any case going to be recognized. All you need to do is just sharpen your skills and maybe
Right,
do a little more. And the private schools, as you mentioned, nearly 52% of the education is in the hands of private players. So
right,
the private institutions, I think the principals are very happy to keep teachers like this who have got a wide variety of skills, like Montessori trained, and the other methods which are there for the children, because they are the ones who are really committed and they really know what they are talking about. And then ma'am is already running Teacher Help Teacher. I think that's an excellent program in which if anyone, if they reach out to each other, they can share their training skills, their feedback, and they would be able to help each other. They are not going to be sidelined. Definitely government is going to make a broaden the umbrella coverage for them as well, and I don't think they'll be out. They'll be
I would
Absolutely, and
like to.
that's what we all believe. Rakiji, you've been working a lot with about connecting teachers with teachers, as Anita ji pointed out. What is your opinion about this particular concern that many teachers have in their mind?
Yes, as far as the early childhood education is concerned, and the Montessori course or the early childhood education course that is being offered, a 6 months course, 9 months course. So the government is also looking into those institutes which are not providing quality inputs and training, which are going to be shut down. So I'm sure that with the quality audit that is going to happen, many of the private players who have been running these short-term 3 months, 2 months teacher, early childhood educator making courses, they are going to go out. So with that, we're going to be having more serious players in the market, and also we're going to see a whole new horizon where a teacher who already has experience and the diploma or the degree in B.Ed or early childhood education, they have already done what needs to be done to teach. Now,
Right.
with the new changes, the new teachers, who the to be teachers, are the ones who have to follow the new policy. So the ones who have already done that, they are done with it. Of course, then they need to professionally upgrade their skills, but they are not someone who are going to be not looked upon, because their experience is equally going to be helpful for. For the school, so that is also something which is going to be taken into consideration by the school authorities. Yeah,
All right,
there's always
absolutely.
going to be
And
a fair
so,
Here, uh,
yes,
you
Palak ji.
know, you know what? We have been talking about hybrid learning. I think NEP has this word has been generated, and almost of us know that it's about hybrid. So that is what we're talking. Demographically, or whatever one has done has not vanished away. It's not. It's only people who are not going to upgrade themselves are going to vanish off. It's very clear. You will have to upgrade your skills, whatever your experience may say, but you will have to upgrade yourself. Like, had it not been locked down, so many schools would have not come to online and virtual platforms. So it was an
Absolutely.
opportunity, and I think on the right time NEP has come, wherein we are forced to change ourselves.
I
This is so. One second thing, pedagogies and methodologies do not change. They can be added. Okay, like the model KWHL has been added with A and Q, right? So it has become KWHLAQ. But
right,
KWHL has not gone anywhere. So we need to
right.
realize that the basics will remain same, but we will all have to upgrade, because we are developing the future generation, and each one of us are responsible for creating them. And now,
Absolutely,
even
absolutely.
government side, they are more keen to develop the passions and the things that the child possess, the strengths that the child possess. So looking forward to it as a positive aspect, I think it will be very enriching if each one of us think that we already know so much, and why not to share with platforms like Teachers Help Teachers. It's the era of sharing. It's the era of innovation. So when I share my thought with you and you share thought with all of us, we all come to a similar platform and create a paradigm shift. This is what NEP is talking about.
Absolutely. We are talking about paradigm shift, and as each of our panelists said, that don't worry, everyone is safe, but yes, there is going to be
I
the
would.
process. We will all have to go through that process of metamorphosis, the from caterpillar to butterfly, and it is there will be some pain in the process, and when I say pain, there will be effort to upgrade ourselves will be required. If we think, if you allow me a little bit of a cheeky naughty thought to get across, अगर आप सोच रहे हो कि मेहनत नहीं करनी पड़ेगी, काम चल जाएगा, so I'm sorry, that's not going to be the order of the day. Only progressive will progress, right? And those who are not progressive will find it very, very challenging. And those 50 hours have to be taken seriously. And
Yes.
government is always welfare oriented. It's not going to take, government is already struggling to create jobs, so they are not going to take the jobs from people who already have. So they are going to give you time and space or transition to the new skill set required. They will also make the provisions, and that's what policy is talking about. There is a teacher training component, which is a very, very specified mandate in the new education policy. So there will be time zone that will be given to us, and we all are going to upgrade to the new requirement. Anita ji, you wanted to say something and you wanted
Yes.
to add.
Uh, Amitabh, so I heard once you had said to us that you can either view something as an opportunity or a threat. So actually, it all depends on Nazariya, on your perspective. If we are going to take these changing times as an opportunity, then we are going to be moving forward with our nation. And if you're going to
Absolutely.
always perceive it as a threat, it's not going to happen. Another thing which I would just like to add at the end is that it is very important that we build up this positive response in our classrooms. See, the policies will come from top down, but the changes have to come from grassroots level. So that is how we feel, we educators feel that at the grassroots level, that is inside the classroom, it is important to create the environment, and we can only do it when we have motivated teachers, as you pointed out in your introductory remarks.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for emphasizing that. And one thing which I have always been wondering since the time this new education policy has come up, that is this policy really new? And and that's a very paradoxical statement I'm making, because I personally feel that there have been schools, and all three of you, the institutions that you have been associated, the institutions that I've been associated, schools, they have been working on experiential learning. All those, the teaching pedagogy was getting more and more innovative. Of course, the structure was not 5+3, that wasn't there, but then the pedagogical aspect already schools were talking about. In fact, Anita ji, I would like to take this statement of one of our viewers, seems to be from your school, say Anjali Malviya, says that Smith, I'm sure that is W. Smith School, that is your school. Smith invests a lot on its teachers. Doing so, even during this time of pandemic, make sure that we are at par with the changing trends. And I think all of us, all four of us on this screen right now, can endorse that most of these places we are associated with, schools have been very,
Yes.
very progressive, taking the training. So somewhere in the good schools with proper vision, probably the tone was already set for these kind of pedagogical shift. Teachers are trained to an extent, so transition may not be very difficult. But then those who are not, and the fringe schools, I think there's still lots of pondering that needs to be done. A plan has to be worked out by the policy makers before we go in and acting on the requirements. We already have, you know, overshot our planned time of an hour. It's 1 hour 15 minutes. There are a lot of questions, and the comments are coming up. It's time to talk about teachers' monetary benefits and advantage. I think all that is a very, very important question to be taken up. But then uh, government policy has to also talk, when we are talking about internationalism in the curriculum, when we are talking about experiential learning, when we are talking about integrated approach, when we are talking about one can take any subject, you can take history, geography, and maths, and appear for engineering exams. I think structure will require a lot of investment, and a lot of things we'll have to look into our social and socio-economic framework. Are we ready for that? Because the economics, as Rakiji also has pointed out a little while earlier, the budgetary provisions and how we are going to cater. Sangram Dinde has raised this as a concern there, that it's time to talk about teachers' monetary benefit. Yes, and there's a question that our panel today has raised, that are we doing enough to motivate teachers to take this up as a profession? And that is where this element also is going to be an important aspect. Sangramji, we do not have enough time to deliberate and ponder on it, but definitely I acknowledge it is a very, very important point which has to be taken up, because we need to match up and compete with the corporates when it comes to the salary structures. So somewhere there is a need to look into that as well. And you know, because of the paucity of time, we would like to talk about it more and more. I promise all our viewers, if you have questions, write to us on our email, write to us on our Facebook page, and we assure you, you name the resource person, we'll bring these three people again, request them to be back on our platform to answer more questions, or any other episode, any particular issue, any particular resource that you think you would like an answer. Either we'll get an answer from them and share it with you, or we will invite them on our platform yet again to answer your questions. That's the promise, that's the assurance. But today, हमें माफी लेनी पड़ेगी आपसे, because वक्त का तकाजा है. So we'll have to, all good things have to come to an end. And so I would like all our panelists to your last word, your final words in this episode with the word on the new education policy as a whole. And starting with Rakiji.
I would say it's time to invest in yourself, whether the government does it or no. But as an individual, now it's the time to invest in yourself if you plan to be in the teaching profession.
Thank you so much. Start preparing yourself. Start taking a new guard. Palakji. You need to unmute yourself, Palakji.
I'm so sorry. Firstly, I would like to thank you, because the initiative that you've taken is amazing, and it's very difficult to have that kind of thought process that we'll do it chapter wise. This is one great initiative which I have not seen on any other platform. Secondly, I think first we learn and then we earn. So it's the time to learn, unlearn, relearn, and then earn. So let's get on to the work that's more important, and let's take
I
it
really
seriously.
appreciate that thought, Palakji. I think very, very profound, and you have answered that last concern raised by one of our viewers as well. First you have to unlearn, relearn, and then comes earn.
Then learn and then
So
earn.
it cannot be reversed. It's not that you begin by earning and then you will think of learning. You'll have to first learn before you earn. Thank you so much for that very, very strong statement. Anita ji, you have the last word for all of us
Yes.
today with the word on this theme.
Yes, I would just like to add my two pies bit, and that would be that we must always remember that we are all very innovative, and each one of us is a creator. And my grandmother used to say that school is an extension of home. So if we always think about education as an extension of skills to be learned at home, we would be very happy. And teachers should always remember that, and everyone should. Yes. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Amitabh, for this wonderful opportunity to be with all of you.
Absolutely. Learned a
Thank you
lot. Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you, each one of you. Friends, you were listening to Raki Chabaria, founder, teacher, health teacher, connecting with us, connected throughout directly from Mumbai. You were listening to Palak Tiwari Gaikwad, the director of Little Kingdom Group of Schools from Jabalpur in Madhya Pradesh. And you were listening to Dr. Anita Pauline Day, Director, Principal of W.H. Smith Memorial School, Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh. I hope that you all have enjoyed. Thank you so much, each one of you, for being with us and finding time to help our viewers develop an insight into the teacher aspect of the new education policy. Thank you so much for being with us. Friends, I'm sure you all will agree that our panelists were so profound, so clear, and so positive and very progressive. I'm sure the institutions they are connected to, they are providing an amazing leadership to them, and they are progressive and they are positive. I'm sure they are the torchbearers which are going to ensure implementation of the new education policy in its essence. And I hope कि आपको हमारा एपिसोड relevant laga, informative laga, and you have learned and developed an insight. We are going to keep bringing more and more relevant issues, social concerns, educational concerns, and keep bringing you amazing resource persons connecting from all across the globe, having a word with a word. Friends, feel free to call us. Your emails are coming to us. Your Facebook messages are coming. You are giving us good feedbacks, and that is our motivation to carry forward. Thank you so much for all the love that you shower on the School Times web channel and A Word with a Word. Signing off from today's episode, your friendly psychologist, Amitabh Mohan. Till we meet again, take care, stay safe.